But I was thinking after the conversation we just started, and again, it's all kind of based off of this quote, which I think is it's not a bad quote. It's just kind of a weird one from Marc Stein. Quote, the Warriors, most of all, owner Joe Lacob appeared determined to stay in it until the end. And again, maybe that doesn't mean that Joe wants LeBron more than other people. Maybe it's just that he's got more resolve on the issue than others. Like maybe Dunleavy did call him one night. Hey, Joe, we're losing out on everybody. There ain't not going to be a Kawhi. There's not going to I don't know. You know what I mean? We can't do anything. No Trey Murphy. We're just waiting here. And Joe said, that's it. Wait, hang up. Good night. Maybe that's all that means. I don't know. But it's an interesting quote. Gets us on a conversation about owners. And Joe has put himself out there. I mean, the story you just told. Joe is an interesting kind of owner. I know that because they've won in the relatively short period of time that he's been here with the Warriors, that means he's got a good reputation. But he puts himself out there and very much puts himself in the middle of basketball decisions, which is not my favorite. I've made that clear, but it's fine. But I wonder if he realizes sort of what that means next, post-Steph era. Think about owners around sports.
Yep.
What do you think the percentage is of owners who we know? Like, we hear from them. We don't hear from Charles Johnson. We barely hear from Greg Johnson.
Yeah.
Jed York talks some, but less than he used to. And so there's that kind of owner. But what do you think the percentage is in terms of owners who are out there doing interviews and injecting themselves into personnel decisions?
I would say it's about 5%.
Yeah.
And I just was immediately thinking about, as you were rolling that out, like Jerry Jones, he does a weekly with our sister station. And I know about Matt Ishbia with the Phoenix Suns, but you don't really hear from him a lot. But even if I was thinking about like owners that I even know, Robert Kraft is an owner that you know. He's been doing it forever. And I don't know how much media he does anymore, but if you go through the three big sports and the 92 teams, I guess, there's 32, 30, and 30. Like, could you name more than 20 owners? Like, Stan Kroenke.
Right. But even Stan Kroenke.
You never hear from him.
If he were sitting at this table, would you know that was Stan Kroenke?
No.
Do you know what he looks like?
No, but he'd probably be sitting on a big wallet, and I'd be looking at him going, man, you must be one of them Kroenkes.
Yeah, you ever hear my story about Monster Energy drinks, sir?
Oh, boy.
Anyway.
Yeah. Even Steve Ballmer, like, you don't hear from him a lot. You know he's the owner, and he's a passionate fan owner, but you don't really, I think, hear from him as much.
And he was a big name prior to buying the Clippers. He was known in the business world. I think of Mark Cuban, who's not in the game anymore. But go around the league and sure, there might be names that do I have this right? Miami Heat, is that Mickey Arison or something like that?
Sounds right.
Is that right?
And James Dolan with the Knicks.
Yeah, but they're like player personnel. You hear about Dolan usually because it's like, I don't know, he's acting like a moron or he's cheap or he's arguing with an ex-player. But I don't hear James Dolan when the Knicks are on the clock. Like, that doesn't happen. You don't, with the Miami Heat, you don't hear anything past Pat Riley. You don't know that. The only reason we know Dan Gilbert in Cleveland is because he penned a letter to LeBron. But some of these other great teams, the Lakers recently sold. I wonder how many people could even tell us who's the owner of the Lakers.
Yeah, I have no idea. Exactly.
But Joe Lacob has put himself in, I think you're about right, whether you want to call it the 1% or the 5%, and that portion or that kind of owner, they are on the block a lot more than other owners when things don't go well. And Joe Lacob has never owned without Steph Curry.
Right.
And so where does that that's what I'm kind of setting up. And I'm sure he doesn't mind it at all. But he is a very rare owner. He is public. He is doing interviews. He is in the draft room. He is raising his arms, screaming at his GM.
Whatever.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
And so that's like if you do it and you get to do that, But then when things get tough, that puts you a little bit more in the center square.
For sure.
As to where a lot of other teams put their GM or their Pobo in the center square.
Right, and he's in the center square because he put himself in the center square, and he's dominated in the center square with 4 championships. And so if you are Joe Lacob, and I dream about having that sort of a resource to be Joe Lacob, but you come in with the hubris and the braggadocio about what you're going to do, and then you go out and you do it not once, but 4 times. And so now you're in the spot here in 2026 where you're thinking, we're going to keep this thing going because I win. It's what I do. I don't take L's. I get W's. And he's gone out there and hung banners like he said he would. And so now when you're trying to get LeBron James, of course, the quote would be, we're not going to give up. I don't think that Joe Lacob has ever given up on anything, really.
No, I don't think that's in his DNA. Right. I don't think he minds any of this. I think he's probably pretty comfortable with the conversation that we're having right now, and that's why he's the way that he is. But, one thing I've always sort of thought is one of the keys to happiness, and it's one of the things that I think is defined by kind of getting a little bit older in life. The goal is to not care that much what other people think. Like you wore that shirt yesterday, and I bet did it even occur to you that might, I loved it, but did it even occur to you that might become a subject?
No.
Do you care that it became a subject?
I don't.
There you go.
When I put it on after the 3 of us showered individually, and I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I'm showing a lot of cleavage here as we give France their due. And I was like, you know what? There's a lot of chest hair flying out, but it's 92 out with a 92% humidity. I'm wearing the shirt.
It's a look.
Yeah.
If you had oversized gold aviator glasses, you probably would have gotten a part in a movie. It would have been great.
Yep.
You didn't. You could do that next time. We'll see. This was just our first trip out there. But my point is kind of the message I was trying to give Goo all day. Go out there, close your eyes, and swing as hard as you want. And if you hit the ball, great. And if you don't, who cares? Who cares? So what I'm getting at, I don't know that Joe Lacob gives 2 rips what everyone thinks about him. But he's putting himself on a track to someday not be the most well-liked guy. And here's why I say that. Not because he's doing anything wrong, but how many owners do you know in sports where you're like, ooh, the fan base loves him or her or whatever? Who loves the owner? Are they even built that way? Is Robert Kraft loved in New England? I actually don't know. Maybe a Boston fan can give us a call.
Yeah, I wonder if you look back.
Is he like a loved figure?
Not to the level of Belichick and Brady. And
he ended up squaring off with Belichick.
Right.
So who does a Boston fan love on Bill's way out the door?
Right. Probably. I mean, it was Tom. Tom leaves first. And so you're thinking, all right, it's either Bill Belichick or Tom Brady. We're not sure which one was more responsible for the success. And Tom wins in Tampa, and then Bill goes to North Carolina, and you're left with Robert Kraft. And I'm sure that his stock in fans' eyes went down because you're the owner and you let the 2 goats walk out the door, basically.
Yep. And I want to make this point. Like and respect are 2 different things. I think Robert Kraft is probably very respected. To a degree, I bet Cowboy fans respect Jerry Jones, even though there's kind of an eye roll there. At the same time, they're thinking he's probably the biggest power broker in the entire NFL, and he's our owner. And so that's fun. And so maybe there's a respect there for what he's built, the businessman that he is and everything. At the same time, I think most Cowboy fans are thinking maybe don't do personnel, Jerry Jones. Maybe don't do that anymore. So, and I don't know if I would use that word liked. Is Jerry Jones liked? So it comes with the territory. If you're going to be this visible and audible of an owner, that when it doesn't go well, it's going to end up a little bit on your doorstep. And you're kind of built not to be liked because people are jealous and you have a lot of money. There's that too. Right.
And that, I think, is the nature of it. And honestly, if you want to look at ownership, and the Jed York example is a great one, I think, because when he kind of took the reins of the team and he was out there doing a lot more social media and talking a lot more and the team wasn't winning, there was resentment. And then he took a giant step back and he allowed John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to kind of run things, and you don't really hear from him anymore. Well, the team still hasn't won anything other than a couple of NFC championships, but I think the fan base has much more respect and even like of Jed York because he's no longer out there front facing. And so Joe Lacob is another good example because if he hadn't won 4 titles, what would fans be thinking about Joe Lacob? I think that they would be thinking a lot more like they did when they booed him at the Chris Mullin retirement back in 2011.
I mean, that's just kind of the in thing to do. Like, if your team's not good and you don't know otherwise as to kind of what's going on, you get mad at the owner. That's just kind of how it is. Who's the guy for the Mets? Cohen?
Yeah.
That's his name? Steve, maybe?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, he likes to try to get out in front of things. When things don't go well, he loves to go to Twitter and say things like, boy, this sucks, and I'm sorry, and I apologize, and we're working on it, and we're obsessed with it. It's very a la the email that Joe sent to a fan last year.
Good call.
You know, we're on it. Don't you worry. So he'll get out in front of it, but he also spends like a madman every year, seemingly goes nowhere. So it doesn't come off as he knows what he's doing. How about this? Can you think of any owner in any sport where you're thinking, I like that guy's personnel chops. I want that guy doing drafts for us.
I mean, I'd have to really pour through it, but it's hard to even think about like where that works. And if you think about the most involved owners, you think about Jerry Jones, and it's now been 30-something years since they've won. And I don't even know if his personnel chops are, if he's the guy like pulling the strings. I know his son is involved. And you think about Joe Lacob. And in baseball, I don't even know if there is an owner that would measure up to that.
I was just pulling up the baseball board, looking at teams. I don't know how many owners I could name in baseball.
Right.
It might be 5. I know Cohen. Obviously, I know the dummy who owns the A's. We know the Giants.
Yep.
And there's a handful of other either names or groups. We know Artie Moreno with the Angels.
Good call.
That one's gone sideways, and he came in with all kinds of fanfare, sombreros, and beer for everybody, kind of a vibe. And then that's gone totally sideways. I made a smattering of others. I have no idea who owns baseball teams.
Right.
Largely.
Even if you think about it in our business, like who owns like these media companies? And, you know, I could go around the entire room and ask who owns Odyssey, and the majority of people probably wouldn't know. No. And it's because the ownership allows the people who run the thing to run the thing. And this is not an indictment on Joe Lacob, and I don't even know how involved he is in the everyday doing what he's doing. He seems pretty front-facing.
It feels involved, right?
It does. Yeah. And at the same time, they've won 4 championships. Yeah. So as a fan, I will give him all of the latitude that I can until you start to really stockpile mistakes. And, you know, if you want to put Wiseman at his doorstep or Kuminga or, you know, the things that you think have gone wrong, if you want to pile those up on his doorstep, you're allowed to. But still, I think the 4 championships stack is still taller than the mistake stack. You know what I mean?
Kuminga still doesn't have a team.
That's early.
No, I'm wondering, and I don't mean this just about Jonathan, maybe all the guys, anybody who's left, we've just hit the you got to wait for LeBron button.
Right.
I don't know if anybody knows what to do. And the players may be sitting there and their agents thinking, I don't know exactly how much money we can get until this LeBron thing is taken care of, so we'd be dumb to sign. I think Jonathan's got offers on the table. I don't know if he likes them.
Right.
But I don't think they want to sign him yet because it's like you want to wait for the other shoe to drop.
Who signs first, Jonathan Kuminga or Brandon Aiyuk?
Oh, Jonathan Kuminga. Brandon Aiyuk?
I mean, football's right around the corner.
He's not playing football anymore.
Ever again?
Never.
I know you saw the TJ Houshmandzadeh thing.
Yeah. I've been saying this for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Who the hell's signing that guy? Who's that desperate? Who's that ignorant? Why would they do that?
You might catch a wide receiver injury in camp.
Yes, you might.
Cat.
You might.
He's a cat.
You might catch a crazy person on your roster as well.